is July 8, 2024. Last week, in a 6-3 majority decision, all Republican-appointed justices of the U.S. Supreme Court made a ruling about immunity for former President Donald Trump. I'm Esmeralda Padilla-Gould, and welcome to The Pulse.
And I'm Edgar, Abalos, sitting in for Sam Buban, who is in transit from Asia. Welcome to this week's edition of The Pulse.
In a decision that Donald Trump described as a victory for him, the 6 conservative justices, 2 of which were appointed under his presidency, ruled that the president is immune from prosecution of all his action while president, and such action is in his official capacity, and not immune for action if the action is considered as having acted in his personal capacity. Chief Justice Roberts joined Justice Samuel Alito, Clarence Thomas, Neil Gorsuch, Brett Kavanaugh, and Justice Amy Coney Barrett in siding with the former president. While the 3 liberal justices dissented in the opinion of the majority, Justice Sonia Sotomayor, Justice Elena Kagan, and Ketanji Brown Jackson all penned their name in the minority opinion. Multiple legal experts gave this analysis. Is Trump absolutely immune from prosecution? The court ruled that if the act of the president or former president was an official act, but construed as the criminal act by other jurisdiction or countries, such act is immune from prosecution if such act was done in official capacity. And that if the act was done in an unofficial capacity, then such an act is not immune from prosecution. So what does it do to the alleged criminal acts that Donald Trump is being charged of relating to the January 6th insurrection and other acts culminating in the attack of the U.S. Capitol? The acts relating to attempts to obstruct the smooth transition of power, like efforts to deny the lawful election of his opponent like Joseph Biden. The court did not specifically deal with it. So that means those differences and sorting out what constitute an act that is in officially capacity and acts that is in unofficial capacity will have to be sorted out by the lower court. The ruling sends back to the lower court to determine what is left of the Jack Smith's indictment according to analysis in a report from the Associated Press. That is to determine which of the charges are considered an official capacity versus acts done in an unofficial capacity. One of the many consequences of the High Court's decision is that there will likely be no criminal trials against Trump before the November election, as all the criminal cases will be sorted out at the lower court level as to which of the acts are not immune from prosecution. All the conservative justices appear to have sided with Trump immunity, while 3 of the liberal justices sided with prosecution of Trump. Among the big cases that are immediately affected are the January 6 case prosecution on the January 6 conspiracy, the Mar-a-Lago classified documents case, where Judge Eileen Cannon had been doing the delay on her own, and the Georgia case conspiracy to overturn the Joseph Biden election, which is being prosecuted by Fulton County District Attorney Fannie Willis. Justice Sonia Sotomayor, who penned a fierce dissenting opinions with 2 other justices, Ketanji Brown Jackson and Elena Kagan, said, among other things, that to grant Donald Trump immunity from criminal prosecution would make a king above the law. In her dissenting opinion, Justice Ketanji Brown Jackson, she said that the ruling breaks new and dangerous ground. The case Trump versus United States is the result of Donald Trump's appeal for absolute presidential immunity from prosecution while serving in the Oval Office.
In Oakland, California, there is a corruption cloud that hangs over the city, as likely mayoral crises continue to unfold. In an article in the Los Angeles Times, FBI made an early dawn raid on June 20th, the home of the Oakland City Mayor Sheng Thao. The political climate in the city has intensified since the raid. The same report from Los Angeles Times said that Mayor Sheng Thao made a fiery 3 days later after the raid, denying any wrongdoing and adding that I wanted to be clear, I have done nothing wrong and this investigation is clearly not about me, added Mayor Sheng Thao. She suggested that the raid was related to a conspiracy between federal officials and forces closer to whom who want her out of the office. The FBI have not yet made any public announcement about the raid. The mayor said the timing of all this troubling and that we should all be concerned. She said, I would want to know more about a handful of billionaires from San Francisco and Piedmont who are hell bent on running me out of office. She added that why the day following the qualification of a recall election funded by some of the richest people in the Bay Area seemed like the right day to execute a warrant. For hours on June 20th, agents from the FBI, U.S. Postal Service, and IRS agents searched Thao's house and left with several boxes. The same report mentions that on the same day, a search warrant was also executed on the houses of Davis and Andy Dong, a politically connected father and son who owns a business called California Waste Solutions, who handles recycling for the city of Oakland. It has been reported that in the past, the Dongs have been accused of reimbursing straw donors who contributed political campaigns across the Bay Area and possibly violated fair political practices statutes of California. Oakland's Public Ethics Commission is also investigating. Mayor Sheng Thao, an Asian American, will soon facing a recall election to remove her from the mayor's post. For our Phil-Ams and Filipino audience abroad, a recall election which is not available in the Philippines is an election to challenge an incumbent before the end of their term. There are a certain number of voter signatures required to qualify in recall elections for a challenger or a challengers. If any one of you remember, Arnold Schwarzenegger became the California governor, resulting from a recall election against Governor Ray Davis. We are going to take a commercial break. Please stay with us.
Pure Medical Equipment provides top-notch quality medical supply equipment. Whether to rent or buy, Pure Medical Equipment and Supplies has it all.
Pure Medical Equipment is committed to serve and give back to Southern Nevada.
We deliver medical supplies and rentals to your door.
Enjoy Film TV Network on KGNG 26.8 Las Vegas and www.filmtv.us. Search for and download Film TV Network in Roku, Amazon Fire TV, Facebook, and YouTube. Download the WCE TV app from smartphones and search for Film TV.
Going to our world news, according to an Associated Press report, Hezbollah's deputy commander was quoted that after the ceasefire in Gaza, Hezbollah's organization will no longer fight Israel. Hezbollah, a militant organization based in Lebanon, said it fired numerous missiles at Israeli military position close to the border, in retaliation after Israel murdered a senior commander in the group on Wednesday last week. This was the group's second higher-ranking field leader assassinated in less than a month. There have been no reports of injuries, according to the Israeli military, which estimated that about 100 missiles were fired. International diplomats are frantically trying to stop the almost daily skirmishes between Israel and Hezbollah from escalating into a full-scale conflict that might result in an Israeli-Iranian conflict. And Iran is Hezbollah's principal sponsor. Hezbollah claims that if Israel consents to a ceasefire with Hamas in the Gaza Strip, it will suspend its strikes. According to certain Israeli officials, they aim to prevent war and are looking for a diplomatic way out of the current impasse. Simultaneously, they have issued a warning that if war breaks out, Lebanon will face images of devastation similar to those in Gaza. On the other hand, Hezbollah is thought to possess a sizable arsenal of rockets and missiles that can strike any location in Israel, making it significantly more formidable than Hamas. Most of the 2.3 million people living in Gaza have not forced to flee their homes, often more than once, as a result of the nearly 9-month-long conflict that has left the region in ruins. About 1.9 million people have currently gathered in the territory's center area, according to estimates released by Israel's military on Tuesday. Israel has instructed the evacuees to take shelter in an overpopulated coastal region with numerous tent camps scattered across and minimal access to basic amenities. Humanitarian relief operations have been impeded by Israeli sanctions, the continuous war, and the disintegration of law and order, leading to widespread hunger and famine fears. Israel vehemently contests the top UN court's conclusion that there is a plausible risk of genocide in Gaza. Following Hamas' October 7 raid in which militants poured into southern Israel, killing around 1,200 people, largely civilians, and kidnapping nearly 250 more. Israel declared war on Gaza. Since then, around 37,900 people have died in Gaza as a result of Israeli ground offensives and bombardments, according to Health Ministry of the territory, but does not differentiate between combatants and civilians when calculating this number.
The network Al Jazeera, reporting on the UK general election of 2024, explains the key players in UK election in the face of a changing European Union landscape following the announcement of snap elections by Prime Minister Rishi Sunak on May 22. Britons went to the polls on July 4 to select the party that will lead the nation. After 14 years of conservative control, the Labour Party took back the majority with his elections. The Labour Party, led by Keir Starmer, is set to become the new Prime Minister as the Prime Minister Rishi Sunak of the Conservative Party has already announced his resignation to give way to a new government. In a massive defeat, the Conservative Party lost 251 seats in the parliament, while the Labour Party gained 211 seats with 67 million people living in England, Northern Ireland, Scotland, and Wales. The United Kingdom has the 6th largest economy globally. What is the UK voting process like? Using a first-past-the-post system, voters in 650 seats throughout the United Kingdom will choose representatives to the lower house of Parliament, the House of Commons. A candidate must obtain more votes than all of their rivals in order to win each constituency and earn seat in the House. In order to obtain a majority in the House of Commons and be invited to form a government by King Charles III, a party must win 326 seats, or at least 50% the total House of Lords, the highest house of Parliament, has appointed rather than elected members. What is the UK's government's organizational structure? Because of the United Kingdom is a constitutional monarchy. King Charles III is the head state. The monarch's duties, such as giving royal assent to legislations, are primarily ceremonial and symbolic. The House of Commons and House of Lords, which are housed at the Palace of Westminster, comprise the two houses Parliament. There are 650 members of Parliament in the House of Commons who are chosen by popular vote. The House of Lords has an arbitrary number of members in contrast to the House of Commons. Its current membership count is 784 as of June 20, 2024. Bishops' life peers and hereditary peers comprise it. The Prime Minister, who holds a 5-year term and is in charge of selecting senior ministers who oversee various government departments, lead the executive branch of the government that carries out legislative duties over the courses of its 14-year rule. The Conservative Party has named 5 prime ministers. We will continue with our world news after the commercial. Please stay tuned.
Pure Medical Equipment provides top-notch quality medical supply equipment. Whether to rent or buy, Pure Medical Equipment and Supplies has it all.
Pure Medical Equipment is committed to serve and give back to Southern Nevada.
We deliver medical supplies and rentals to your door.
Enjoy Film TV Network on KGNG 26.8 Las Vegas and www.filmtv.us. Search for and download Film TV Network in Roku, Amazon Fire TV, Facebook, and YouTube. Download the WCE TV app from smartphones and search for Film TV.
Welcome back to The Pulse. Another manifestation of the El Nino phenomenon, a Category 4 strong Hurricane Beryl wreaked havoc in Jamaica with its strong winds that brought so much rain to its Caribbean island nation of Jamaica. According to BBC report, the hurricane also touched off just south part of the Cayman Islands before heading to the Yucatan Peninsula in Mexico. The U.S. National Hurricane Center issued early warning that Beryl, a Category 4 storm with gusts of around 140 miles per hour, is forecast to move close to or over the southern coast in the coming hours. Later on, it forecasts life-threatening winds and storm surge for both the Cayman Islands and Jamaica. As the storm moves over the Caribbean, at least 7 individuals have lost their lives thus far. Hurricane Beryl dumped a lot of rain on Venezuela, flooding the northern state of Sucre with a river. A number of people are still missing and 3 have died while assessing the damage. A falling tree struck a delegation from the government. Vice President Delcy Rodriguez was one of the injured, according to President Nicolas Maduro. She was very bruised but conscious, according to him. Residents of Cancun, Mexico have heard to store to stock up on goods in anticipation of Hurricane Beryl, which is scheduled to hit in the coming days. A few people have reported finding empty shelves. According to the NHC, Hurricane Beryl formed very earlier in the hurricane season that typical and was the first Category 5 storm ever recorded in the Atlantic. In the Philippines, a Philippine Senate committee continues to investigate several Philippine overseas gaming operators who had been involved in the illegitimate activities in the Philippines, including human trafficking, slave labor, a physical abuse of workers, kidnapping and arbitrary detention of its worker, unpaid wages, and human smuggling and immigration laws violation. An elected mayor of Bangbang, Tarlac, Alice Guo, has become the unintended center point of the investigation after it became known to Senate investigators that building leases, licenses, utility bills, and other government fees and payment to suppliers were being paid by Mayor Alice Guo. As the investigation continues, it became known that there seems to be one Alice Guo, but 2 different people in the photos at the National Bureau of Investigation files for NBI clearance application. Mayor Alice Guo claimed that she was born to a Filipino mother and a Chinese father, which under the 1987 Philippines Constitution considers Alice Guo a natural-born Filipino. The most recent from the Philippine Senate investigations found that Mayor Alice Guo appears to have been registered with a late report of birth, which is legal in the Philippines. Also, she has a brother who also have a delayed report of birth, creating doubts that they are Filipinos and may actually be Chinese nationals who are part of a large POGO operations by Chinese nationals, and that a delayed report of birth as an alternative birth certificate are being abused. The senators are asking the National Statistics Office to be more careful and vigilant in asking for supporting documents when registering the birth.
The Philippine government continued to pursue its protest against the Chinese Coast Guard over an incident that injured some members of the Philippine Navy and Philippine Coast Guards in the disputed West Philippine Sea. That is being claimed by China. Video footage of the incident has gone viral worldwide. In the video, you can see a Chinese uniformed personnel wielding a firefighting axe and waving it towards a Filipino ship personnel and the striking parts of the Filipino-owned vessel. One Filipino crew member lost his finger and one other had serious wounds in the arms. The Philippines did not retaliate by force, but a top general said he does not see it yet as an act of war, but would that Philippines will retaliate commensurately. He said, "Lalaban tayo ng patas. We will fight commensurately."
The United States and other allies of the Philippines had been closely monitoring movements and behavior of China in South China Sea, but none are asking for escalation of tensions, which we really hope will stay that way. Well, that's it for this week's edition. Please join us again next week. I'm Esmeralda Padilla-Gould, and thank you for watching.
And I'm Edgar Abalos. God bless your week.
Enjoy Film TV Network on KGNG 26.8 Las Vegas and www.filmtv.us. Search for and download Film TV Network in Roku, Amazon Fire TV, Facebook, and YouTube. Download the WCE TV app from smartphones and search for Film TV.
We use headphones as a part of our everyday lives. Whether we're at work, getting exercise, meditating, in transit, studying, practicing, or relaxing.
Hi, I'm Ryan Sway, the founder of Aircom. I would like to introduce the world's first wireless airflow audio earbuds. As a festival and a concert junkie, I really enjoy the live experience of being there and feeling the music. When we started developing Airflow, our goal was to reproduce that live experience using earbuds.
The problem with traditional headphones is that The speakers are located inside of the earpiece, literally giving you centimeters before the audio hits your eardrum.
What Aircom is doing, they're the first company to actually address the fact that there needs to be a space involved associated with having the sound waves expand fully.
The difference between traditional headphones and Aircom audio is that the air tube gives you 8 times more space, allowing the sound waves to fully develop before they actually hit your eardrums. And this gives it a much more live, natural sound, just like in a recording studio.
It's real nice that someone actually addressed the physics associated with how sound comes out.
The challenge we had was to create an earbud with enough airspace for the sound to fully develop and breathe. Unfortunately, traditional earbuds are about the size of a jelly bean, and there's just not enough airspace. However, that changed when we developed Airflow Audio. Airflow uses an air tube to deliver 6 to 8 times more airspace than traditional earbuds. The end result is a true live listening experience, just like you're at a festival or a concert. We also added magnets to the back of the earpieces so you can wear it around your neck when you're not using it.
Being that the drivers are 8 inches from the earpiece, the magnets do not affect the integrity of the sound at all.
The orange line represents the frequency transmitting through the wire to the speaker, which then converts to the blue sound wave that develops more as it travels up the air tube, producing a balanced, full body and live listening experience.
Another really cool feature is that these earbuds are sweat-proof and water-resistant because they're coated with a super hydrophobic nanotechnology. So now you can be on a skateboard or riding a motorcycle and listen to music as if you were watching a live show or actually in a recording studio.
We're coming to you for help in bringing these unparalleled earbuds to market.
Pure Medical Equipment provides top-notch quality medical supply equipment. Whether to rent or buy, Pure Medical Equipment and Supplies has it all.
Pure Medical Equipment is committed to serve and give back to Southern Nevada.
We deliver medical supplies and rentals to your door.